Yeah. Look, you just interviewed a terrorist, and she's one of the most vicious terrorists of my lifetime. These settlers are lunatic religious fundamentalists that believe in murdering Palestinians for God. It's an absurd interpretation of any religious document. The overwhelming majority of Jews, by the way, do not agree with them. They don't think that you have to murder Palestinians for God. So when you asked her that last question, it was actually very interesting what her answer was. You said, do you mind 20,000 children being killed? And she said, as long as they're teaching their children to hate Jews, she seemed to be justifying that we have to kill their children.
Piers Morgan absolutely snaps on Rabbi Shmuley, and this time it's not one of those polite back and forth debates. This was raw, explosive, and completely unscripted. You can see it. Shmuley losing control of his composure as Cenk Uygur lays out hard truths about Israel's bombing campaign in Gaza. And the moment Piers steps in, it all unravels. Let's break down what really happened here and what this debate reveals about the narrative that's falling apart in real time. Let's plug in.
So think about the absurd logic of that. Since they teach them to hate us, we murdered their children. Gee, I wonder why they hate you. Like, the fact that she can't even see that shows you how painfully stupid this terrorist is. So I'm done. You guys are way too polite to Israel. Israel is a terrorist state. I'm not interested in it. I'm not interested in supporting it. I'm not interested in having them steal more Arab land. And I said to you, Piers, a long time ago, that this was never about self-defense. This was about taking Gaza. Well, I was right. I've been proven right by Netanyahu and their terrorist government. I called them terrorists, and I said that they would kill more civilians than Hamas. Are you kidding me? They've now, get a load of this fact. Hamas killed 815 civilians on October 7th. Terrible. We've all condemned it 1,000 times. Now, Israel has killed 870 Palestinians under the age of 1. They have killed more Palestinian babies than Hamas killed civilians on October 7th. And every time it's a justification. No, we talked to God. God told us to steal Arab land. God told us to murder Arab children. What kind of sick state is this? When I saw her and smiling, like you said, and smirking, now when I see a lot of these Israeli leaders, I feel like I'm looking at Germans telling us, no, it's okay. We can do this to the Jews. There's going to be no consequences. And their smugness partly, Piers, has to do with the fact that they think we own America. There's nothing you can do. We control the largest military in the history of the world. We can get them to do whatever we want because AIPAC has bought the entire U.S. government. And she's not wrong. She's not wrong. I mean, today Trump is talking about, you're not going to get the Epstein files. You're not going to get anything. We're occupied. We're all Palestinians now.
Rabbi Shmuley, I mean, when you listened to that interview with Daniela Weiss, what did you feel about it?
Piers, thank you for having me on. And having had a surprisingly civil debate at Oxford University with my brother Cenk, I'm actually going to excuse his hyperbole of calling Jews Nazis and stick to the facts because you were right, Piers. In your discussion with Daniela,
stop
she should have
smearing Jews.
No, Cenk, please.
Germans.
Cenk, please don't. Okay, you're already interrupting me. Just be civil, please. We had a civil debate at Oxford. Let's try to continue. We shook hands afterward. Hundreds of thousands of people said how much they enjoyed watching us shake hands. Let's be human a little bit. I'm going to do what you said, Piers, and stick to the facts. Number one, Cenk just said that Israel killed so many more civilians that were killed on October 7th. 45,000 Britons died in the Battle of Britain when the Luftwaffe and Hermann Goering, bombed London, Northampton to smithereens. But Churchill killed 700,000 German children. He killed 3 million German civilians. That was terrible. But here's my question to you,
That was
Piers.
war.
Outside
World
of Parliament is a giant statue of Churchill as the greatest statesman in the history of Britain. Was Churchill a war criminal, yes or no?
No, Churchill wasn't a war criminal. In fact, Matthew, I saw you shaking your head.
Okay. He wasn't. Okay. You said facts. You said facts.
Well, hang on. If you're going to make statements like Churchill,
45. Wait.
Your numbers aren't correct
you can
about
expand.
the number of civilians who died. Never mind anything else.
Yes, they are. There were 3 million German civilians killed by Britain and by the United States. There were 70,000 Japanese killed on a single day in Hiroshima and then Nagasaki. Half of them were children. 35,000. Was Harry Truman a war criminal? Was Roosevelt a war? If you are prepared to say, Piers, based on facts and based on what Cenk just said, that the proportion of civilians to combatant deaths determines whether you're a war criminal. And by the way, Churchill killed 5 civilians for every 1 German combatant. The United States in Fallujah killed 4 civilians in Fallujah in Iraq for every 1 terrorist Iraqi combatant. So was George W. Bush a war criminal? Was Tony Blair a criminal? If you're prepared to at least be consistent and say that, yes,
well, yeah, I think Bush and Blair were war criminals.
3 million. Was Churchill... Okay, do you think that Winston Churchill was a war criminal? It's a yes or no question.
No.
The same way you put it to Danielle, yes or no?
Churchill, well, let me let...
So Churchill can kill 3 million
All right, you've
Germans,
asked a question.
Okay?
You've asked a question. Matthew.
This is what I call moral misdirection. It's the tactic used when facts are too ugly to face. So instead of owning them, you bury them under history. Rabbi Shmuley starts throwing out inflated casualty numbers, claiming Britain killed 3 million civilians during the war. Completely false. And Piers, to his credit, fact checks him in real time. He says actually it was between 350,000 and 500,000 total. That right there was the breaking point, because when you start lying to defend state violence, your argument collapses. But the deeper story here isn't about one rabbi or one debate. It's about a shift happening in front of our eyes. For decades, Israel has been viewed as the moral democracy in a dangerous neighborhood. That image, that brand is gone, shattered, and not because of propaganda. It's because it's reality, because people are seeing videos, seeing dead children, seeing bombed hospitals, and asking real questions. Even Piers Morgan, a guy known for cutting off guests in mid-sentence, is now saying what others won't. This overreaction will haunt Israel for generations. That's not coming from a critic. That's coming from a former defender.
I think it's a completely coherent and fair question. It's about means and ends. Is the means justified to achieve a given end? For what it's worth, I think that consequentialist approach is legitimate. I think that Truman was justified in the atomic bombs. I say that reluctantly, but I think there would have been many more deaths had the Second World War not been brought to an end in that way. I know some people will disagree with that position. However,
okay, so you're one of the most fair
if I may just finish,
wait a second.
just
so
briefly
you're one of the most fair person that I've ever spoken to about on this show. All I'm saying is, let's be clear. Piers, God weeps for every Palestinian child, the 20,000 children. I don't know if it's 20,000, but even if it is, weeps for every one.
But
One was too many.
But
every Arab child is the equal of a Jewish child. But whose responsibility is it? Who builds? I live in a community here in New York, New Jersey. There is no army base near me. Why are the Hamas headquarters in nurseries? Why does Hamas use these children to die so that you will then point the finger? Now, even Hitler did not do that. The German military headquarters were not built in kindergartens. And let me say one final thing, Piers, if I may. Piers, you know what struck me about your interview with Daniela Weiss? You did not once ask her, what do the people of Gaza want? I don't care what Piers Morgan wants. I don't care what Daniela Weiss wants. I don't care what Cenk Uygur wants. I don't care what Rabbi Shmuley wants.
To lead.
The people of Gaza don't speak for them in the same way I won't. They have not had a vote since 2005, when Hamas took the leaders of the PLO, the Palestinian Authority, Mahmoud Abbas, and threw their opponents off the roofs and killed them. Then Hamas abolished all elections. Now, I want the people of Gaza to vote. Do you want to remain in that tiny hovel where you don't have a backyard, where any money that's given to Hamas, if it's rebuilt, will be, again, it'll go to tunnels? Remember that the Hamas got triple the Marshall aid per capita per Palestinian, and they didn't build one bomb shelter, they didn't build one school, they didn't build one university, they just built tunnels and rockets. Ask the people. So Piers, let me ask you, why did you ask?
May I say to the rabbi, forgive me for persisting here,
decide where they want to live.
But the rabbi did say, I think legitimately, that he had been interrupted and he didn't like it. I was halfway through the point that I was making, if I may say so, when you jumped in. I said that I thought Truman was justified. That's fine. In ending the Pacific War. I think Churchill was justified in trying to end the war in Europe. What I don't understand, and I think a lot of people who are instinctively pro-Israel do not understand are where are the sunlit uplands on the other side of the evisceration of Gaza. I've been told by senior Israeli officials, confidentially, that young Gazans, Palestinians and people across the Middle East are being radicalized, that these dead Hamas fighters are being replaced at a rate of 5 to 1. This isn't going to affect Israel for the next 5 months or 5 years, but for the next 50 years. And how on earth is flattening Gaza going to help the protection of Israel when their funders are in Tehran?
No, I agree.
The image, and let me just make one final point. In the medium term, I say to the rabbi, and I say this with great sincerity, the image of Israel, I don't want to superficialize it, but the brand of Israel, that liberal democracy in a tough neighborhood, which sits unconsciously behind Western support and has done since the Second World War, has been obliterated, shattered into a million pieces. The next generation of American leaders are going to grow up where the most salient image in their minds is not going to be the Holocaust, as it is for our generation. It's going to be emaciated Gazan children dying in their thousands, being starved via a blockade. I say to you, I understand why Israelis and Jews rallied around Netanyahu after October the 7th. Who wouldn't after an atrocity of that kind? But I believe you've been goaded into an overreaction that will reverberate through history of great strategic disadvantage to a country I want to do well.
I see you.
All right, and before I let Rabbi Shmuley respond, before you respond, Rabbi Shmuley, I just wanted to pick you up on the statistics that you regaled at the start of that, which I think you said that the British killed 3 million German civilians, including 300,000 children. Is that what you said?
A 5 to 1 combatant to civilian
just to be
ratio.
clear, you said 3 million, and of which 300,000 were children. That's what you said, right?
Right.
It's
the British decimated Cologne, they decimated Berlin, they decimated Hamburg, they decimated Dresden. In Dresden, they killed 30,000 in one night, etc.
Let me finish my point. You were completely wrong. You were wildly exaggerating the number of civilians killed by the British bombing campaigns, the Allied bombing campaigns. It's estimated between 350 and 500,000 German civilians were killed in total by Allied bombing in World War II. And I would also add this. At the end of...
500,000. Okay, so I said 700,000.
Let me finish my point. Let me finish my point. So it was a sixth of what you said, in fact. But the wider point is we brought in the Geneva Convention at the end of World War II specifically to address the issues of mass civilian casualties in World War II. The UK signed up to that. Most countries of the world signed up to Geneva. Israel is a signatory to the Geneva Convention, and yet it breaches regularly the Geneva Convention, including, many believe, what they're now doing as a government in Gaza.
Here's where the Matrix shows itself. This debate exposes the programming of Western foreign policy. Every time the facts get uncomfortable, they run the same script. What about Hamas? What about War II? What about terrorism? What about the 20,000 dead children? What about the aid convoys bombed? What about the starvation being used as leverage? You can't hide genocide behind history. You can't justify it by pointing to Hitler. And you can't call yourself moral while your government funds it. This is where the Matrix glitches, because for the first time, people around the world aren't looking away. They're watching, questioning, and waking up. Say what you want about Cenk Uygur, but tonight he said what needed to be said. And when Piers checked the rabbi's numbers live on air, that was the moment the illusion cracked. The truth isn't anti-Semitic, it's just inconvenient. If you're watching this right now, don't just scroll past it. Drop your thoughts in the comments, because silence, that's complicity. Hit that like button, subscribe if you haven't already. This is the Matrix Breakdown, and trust me, we're just getting started.